Hey, the Brooklyn Shulamite, and today's lesson is my story versus my purpose. Statistic versus greatness. I'm a statistic, and sometimes that's really embarrassing for me, and it's really hard. And as a young black woman who constantly places myself outside of just my culture lines and the scope of my personal views, I'm constantly afraid that the more they know about me, the more judgment will come, and that they won't see the potential for greatness in me. And so I tend to hide the story, and it comes out little by little. But today I was asked to share my story in class, and I realized the embarrassment goes back to the ego and humility. So, in the essence of moving forward, I am going to share with you some of my statistics. I am the second of 16 children, and I'm my mother's oldest. My parents each have 11 kids and 6 together. My mother had me as a teenager. Both of my parents had drug addictions, and my older sister. My mother suffers from mental illness. I was placed into foster care at the age of 10, myself and my 4 siblings and 3 cousins. So it was 8 of us living in a 4-bedroom project apartment in Astoria, Queens, with my grandparents, my mother's parents, who took us in. I lost my virginity at 15. I was bullied relentlessly and never felt like a fighter and felt weak. I've been really, really drunk. I got drunk the first time at 16. I got drunk twice at 16 and then didn't drink again until I was 21. But I have smoked weed. I smoked weed in high school. I messed up in high school. Not just the sex and the drinking and the weed, which I'm sure even in small doses is never a good thing. I just wasn't focused, and so I ended up having to go to Job Corps so I could finish. I quickly got my GED and started college classes before I turned 17. After graduating from Job Corps, I came and went to college at the Fashion Institute of Technology, and I studied fashion design, and I specialized in intimate apparel. It took me 4.5 years to get a 2-year degree. I ended up taking a year off. My home life was really hectic. At 19, I moved out of my grandparents' house and ended up moving in with my dad, who was in the middle of his drug abuse habit and selling. And so I pretty much moved into a drug house and tried to continue my college life there. So there was a point where I took time off and moved away, and then I came back. I ended up being arrested in a drug raid, going to jail for a night. It's horrible. And the food sucks. I've been in really bad relationships. And I've dated liars and cheaters and abusers. And that may seem odd. That may not seem odd because of my life, but I was always very loved by the men in my life. Yet, I just chose really sad relationships to try to build on. I tried to love people enough to love me back. And I always had high standards, but I would lower them constantly. So, my relationship with God was always really inconsistent. I didn't understand how God could love me and my life could be that way. I considered myself an atheist when I was a teenager, and I just did not believe, but that didn't really work. So I started trying to form some understanding. I didn't know God's word, though I thought I did because I knew some of the stories, and it just didn't work together with my life and my purpose. Ever since I was a little girl, I felt like something great was going to come out of my life, that my story was going to be heard. When I was younger, I thought I was going to be famous. And then as I got older, I thought it was going to be a title. I was going to be Dr. something, and then it was Mrs. something. And I associated greatness with position. And every time I had a failure, it broke me a little bit because I became more of a statistic and further away from my greatness. And now I know my purpose is love. I know that is the greatest attribute that I have to give. I know that understanding and communication are my greatest gifts. And I'm not exactly sure how God's going to use them, but I know they're a part of my purpose. And so I'm trying to get past my ego, which makes me ashamed of the statistics that have put me in the position to love the way I love, to understand the way I understand, instead of just thinking that people are just seeing me as a poor little black girl who has nothing, who will never be anything, who is just going to be just like her mother, who I love, and that hurts me to say it. But my greatest fear growing up has always been failure. And so I'm even afraid to tell my story because there are so many stories of failure connected to it. But I will say now, I have failed. I will fail again. Not in the school, though, it's too expensive. But I will not give up. And I want everyone to be able to look at my story, whether you can relate to it or you've never met someone who has experienced the things I've experienced. Talk to me, ask me, share with me. And I will love you, and I will let you love me. And I will not limit myself by the view of my own scope and try to see myself as God sees me. I hope that this very long message somehow spoke to somebody, and I will go deeper into all of the facets of my life. But right now, my name is Cheryl Monique Johnson, and I am a statistic, but I'm also great. I love you guys. Kisses and blessings.